are rolling. So we capped off the new year with an episode. Actually, we finished the old year with an episode from Onur, which I thought was fucking awesome.
Class.
Yeah, I really like him. And for those of you guys that are listening to this because it's a strength conditioning podcast, yeah, it is. But I mean, the way I learn is I take things from different aspects of life, right? And then I apply them to strength conditioning. I don't read much strength conditioning, right? Do you?
Not anymore. You did, as
Yeah.
I did, but not so much anymore. It seems like the more valuable things can come from a different industry or a different point of view. It can translate into what we're doing.
Yeah, and the people that we bring on this podcast, we view them as very, very useful to improving you guys as a human or just a general functioning coach, right? Which will just help you be that much better at what you want to do. So the guy Onur we had on, he's a painter. He's an artist. He's a street painter essentially.
Oh yeah.
But
yeah.
he's fucking awesome. You listen to his podcast and you listen to one of our athletes' podcasts, it ain't much different.
Not at all, mate.
Right?
Not at all.
Yeah, this is what happens. This is the mentality you have when you're fucking elite.
Oh yeah. And the thing I love most about Onur was he's so content. Bro, I'm one of the guys that sort of floats with the wind, right? But he is really completely, he says, oh, I'll be there that day. He'll probably be there that day, but you don't know what time. He'll come in, he'll work until crazy hours in the morning and then go out. And he's just completely in his creative element all the times. And for him to be in that mode, he needs to be completely disconnected from any boundaries or, structure.
Yeah. Yeah. I really enjoyed talking to him and his way of thinking. It was very logical for an abstract person, right? Like that's what artists are. They're abstract, and his thought process with things it made a lot of sense. I fucking love the story he told about the bill collectors. And I was like, fuck it. I'll just cut up all the bills and just sell them. And then I'll pay for my taxes that way.
Yeah. It's just a great way. And for where, for this country that we live in, that is it's a different type of mindset that you've got, and I mean, that's also one of the things where you hear him say the whole time about how he has to be in Berlin because there it's completely different perspective and the type of people that are around him. But he's a grafter on you, and he got that also from sport. Like, I mean, he mentioned about the combination of sport, basketball and art that completed his childhood, and I mean, you can't get two more self-expressive stuff than sports and to a decent level. And then of course, art.
Yeah.
But also like the way he goes, man, like he can paint a flipping flower and it looks amazing and beautiful, but then he can also do this collage of Jordan,
Yeah,
he's doing one
no boundaries.
LeBron.
I didn't see the LeBron one yet.
He told me he was doing one though, and he wanted to get it out to try and get it in his hands. So I think it's LeBron.
Is his stuff? Can you buy his stuff?
I think you can. He doesn't do any like auctions, or he's not in any galleries. Let's say it like that. I think you can buy some of his stuff, but a lot of it's in like museums or custom pieces. I mean, he does a lot of like he said, murals and in people's houses. He customizes different things. So
that's really cool.
Man. It's so cool, bro. Like he's doing what he wants to do every day, and he's doing it like. The nicest thing is he's taking something that's from his imagination and making it real and making other people really happy. about that. That's a very cool way of living, you know? And it's like this idea of like an act of service, you know? Like he even mentioned, I mean, bro, he could probably pick certain things. Like, I mean, especially nowadays, you could pick like a political topic or something and make some art and try to go viral and try to sell as much as you could. But that's probably not, well, it's certainly not fulfilling for him. Otherwise, he would have already gone in that direction. I mean, he kept talking over and over again about, I only do what I want to do for the people who, you know, I want to work with. I won't do anything else, anything outside of that, which for sports athletes is much harder for them to do because, you know, they have to, well, they don't have to, but they get to the opportunity to have a finite amount of career, and they just need to be present and engaging and trying their best on every day, regardless of how they feel about it, right?
Yeah.
But I was curious. The thing that I was most curious with Onur is you hear a lot of the time people say about writer's block if they're an author, right? And then you got certain guys out there that say writer's block doesn't actually exist. You just got to keep showing out, and it's, you know, I think Seth Godin's like, if you show me 50,000 words of bad writing, then I'll say that you got some sort of block, but you never get there. That mindset with him, that he can always get into the flow, he can always get going with his projects, bro, that's really interesting to me, because that's the same with sports athletes too, because you need to be in the mindset of, it doesn't really matter how I feel about the situation, you know, the mission doesn't change, and I just need to be able to go there and go and do it. You know, if you've got a firefighter and your house is on fire, you don't want him to arrive and be like, oh, I'm a bit rough today. Had an argument with a missus, don't really want to be doing this today. You know, oh, it's not worth the money. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I wonder where he gets all these fucking ideas from. Right? Just to paint something, fucking anything, where he just comes up with it. Right? Mm-hmm. Like it's where does this fucking shit? Because I'm not creative at all, so I can't. I'm fascinated by these people that just come up with these ideas.
I would agree with you, because I'm also not. I wouldn't say that I'm that creative, but I think creativity it's not just found in art, right? It's found in many different things. So your creative itch is getting scratched when you're trying to do different techniques to alleviate certain pain with different people, or thinking outside of the box with that. I mean, I don't know how much of that you do, but you're innovating, right? You try new stuff out or not?
I don't create a fucking thing. I literally...
Okay, but you take things, right? But you place them together in different ways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's nothing that I've done that I've created on my own. Even my insults, like I'm really good at ripping people apart, but like it's because I've gotten it from someone else. Someone fucking ripped me, so I'm like, I guess I'll fucking use that one. I just have a creative way of expressing it in my timing and execution.
There you go. Well, then it's your own, right? So, but no, I mean, maybe that comes with later on in life, mate. I mean, it all depends on what you're really curious about.
So, yeah, I don't think I'm that. So I don't think I'm smart. I don't think I'm smart at all. I can barely...
Compared to who?
Smart people. Like I've met people that are fucking smart. They can read. I can barely fucking read, right? Mm. And there are people that I talk to and they're like, "Oh man, you're fucking smart." I said, "No, I'm experienced. There's a difference." Right? I've experienced a lot because I've been around a lot of people and I've failed at a lot of fucking things. I've fucked up a lot. So I learned from those mistakes. I just know some shit just because I've talked to a lot of people. But it doesn't, I'm not a fucking smart dude. I can't, so from a creative standpoint, from an application standpoint, I don't know. I think I just I think I'm just persistent than anything else. I just keep going.
I mean, there's that is 100% true for you, that you are very persistent, but I think you are smarter than you make out. You like to read. You used to read a lot. Maybe you don't read so much now.
I hate reading. I fucking hate reading.
Listen, Listen, we can find a clip on here, I'm sure, of you mentioning about how you used to get excited to take Adderall and read.
Well, that's
So it don't matter.
The only time I enjoy reading is when I'm on fucking drugs.
Right, when you're high, right. But it doesn't take it away from the fact that you have read a lot. I mean, bro, the truth is that you've got no idea, because say like, and I mean, not just you, but all of us, we've got no idea, because our environment is really important. Now, you're always surrounded by more or less the same type of people. You're not somewhere where there's random people coming and going every single day that's passing through, like in a hospital, for example, because there you'd have much more varied, like in terms of the population of people you see, it's much more varied. So amongst that population, you would be comparing yourself very differently based on the amount of people that you're surrounded by. But right now you're surrounded by top pros, great coaches, you know, some of these great younger kids that you're working with. So you're like placing yourself around in that. And that's why I don't agree. Because if you took, I don't know, 100 random people from around the world, you're definitely in the top ranks of being smart. Yeah. You can read and write, you know.
Oh, well, if you're going to
think creativity, you can critical think, you can solve problems. Well, if people come to you with certain stuff about anything from finance or something, you will give an answer based on what you think, and it might probably has more truth in it than otherwise.
Yeah, but I mean, now you're comparing. That's like saying the person that earns $30,000 a year in the United States is in the top 1% of richest people in the fucking world because he has indoor plumbing and because he makes $30,000, and compared to the other sources of income. But that person's still living in fucking misery in this country, and they're still in the bottom fucking, you know. So
it's dependent upon who you're comparing it to.
I suppose. All right, yeah. So I'm the tallest fucking ant.
So who you want to compare yourself to fucking Ivy League graduates that are going into, you know, big companies? Yeah, you probably ain't that smart compared to them.
Well, I've trained I've trained some of those cunts. They're not that fucking bright. They just study a lot.
Right.
So anyway, let's talk about fucking Even Esh now.
Yeah. Or why don't we go through from the beginning? I mean, we went through the list of people that we had, and we go through them each.
Yeah, this is going to be a recap episode of a lot of the things, pretty much summing up. We did 30 last year. We did 36 episodes. So that's 30, and we didn't miss a week. And then we started off this year, you know, number 37 with Zach Even Esh. We ended the year with Onur, who was a guy that's not likely to be on a strength conditioning podcast, even though we happen to really think that he applies to what we do. And then we started the year off with the fucking epic, the best fucking Zach Even Esh. He's the best, dude. And I barely got a fucking word in because you were so fucking juiced. I was like, no, man, let Brooker go. Let him go. You were so pumped. I love
Zach. He's been the same dude from when I was at university watching the old DeFranco videos, and he's been the same guy ever since then. He even looks the same. He doesn't look like he's aged.
I know. He's such a fucking, and there's no one he can't get in touch with either. Like, people think I have a reach. Zach Even Esh has a way bigger reach than me.
How can you not respect him? He's like super passionate, enthusiastic, hardworking, disciplined, and he's also really open and vulnerable to say, like, I don't really know if this works or not. I don't know if I'm that good or not. I suck compared to these, you know. So he got no ego. Like, you can't help but just, you know, want to chat and bullshit with him, you know.
I know, he's such a fucking nice dude.
We need to get him on again because there's so much more to go over with him.
I know.
You know, he was one of the first guys. I mean, also with Joe, like, you know, turning this into a proper business, not just training people.
So
when he said about a physical newsletter that he was sending to people every month that was 15 pages to all of his clients. I mean, that's 10 years ago. That's amazing.
Bro, we didn't get into it. Maybe we'll get into it next time. But dude, Zach Even Esh, one of the reasons why he quit his job was he had a meeting. He paid Gary Vaynerchuk $5,000 for a meeting at like a random like White Castle or some shit like that. And they sat down and they talked for like a couple of hours. And Vaynerchuk was like, hey, you know, I have like this wine network. It was before he was Gary V. And you know who told me this story? The Mind Muscle podcast guys.
Oh shit. Okay.
And then I asked Zach about it. He goes, yeah, man, like he had this wine network. And then that's how I started. Remember, Zach had like strengthcoach.tv or something like that. And he just, he'd be on it with like a handheld camera, like a handheld camcorder. And he'd be like, all right, let's go. Fuck this shit, brothers. Like, I am tired of these fucking pussies. I don't want to deal with them anymore. Like, and this is when he was like a kindergarten gym teacher or some shit like that. So he ended up quitting his job as a teacher, and he annihilated it. He was a go-getter. He sold product after product after product after certification after certification. He was the guy doing it first before everyone. Like, and I think he got like the motivation from Gary V, where he was like, all right, fuck it, I'll just quit everything and, you know, I'll focus everything on this. And it was a really good move on his part because he capitalized on it for years.
Sure. I bet that stuff's still making him money now.
Yeah.
I'm
so
sure.
He told me about, I don't know, like 10 years ago or so, or 7 years ago, we were talking in the gym. He came over and he said that he had the foresight, like, well, if I ever want to sell this gym, because as business owners, we have no retirement fund. We have a 401k that we put our own money into, or an IRA, a Roth IRA, whatever the fuck it is that our you know, investment people tell us to do for retirement. But our retirement should be our business, or it should be real estate, or it should be something hard. We don't have anything. We don't have a union to help us. We don't have a company to help us set up a retirement. So essentially our business is our retirement, and we want to build something that we can sell. So, hey, here's an extra $500,000 towards the end of your life, and it adds an extra, you know, $50,000 in income for the next 10 years or whatever it is, right? So Zach had the foresight to say, well, I need to figure out a way to make this sellable, because right now I'm just writing stuff on the board and it's not sellable because it's based around me. And I've had my personal business evaluated, and it's ranged from a really moderate price to a really, really high price. And it's predicated on whether I stay or not. So Zach's like, well, I don't know if I want to stay in my business. So I want to make it a pretty solid price that I can sell my business for. So he has a couple of different, I think his billing and his programming is all through like Wodify or something like that. And he writes down, he has every single workout that he's ever done with his groups for the past 3-4 years or something like that, has all the contacts, has all the people in the newsletter and the constant contacts, everything. And he can just wrap it up, tie a bow around it, and here you go. This is something to sell. And I have a track record of 7-8 years of doing this. So you know it's valuable and you know it'll continue. And it's not just based around me, because I have other coaches running it as well.
Right.
So, I mean, he had the foresight to do that then. And I'm looking at this shit now like, I still don't want to do that, even though I know that's the right move. Like if you're looking for,
if you're looking at it from the side that you want to be an entrepreneur, because there's a lot of people say about they want to be an entrepreneur, but then they don't realize that they're more actually like freelancers, and they've got themselves confused with being an entrepreneur, because the entrepreneur is always looking for the sellout, right? And then you're hiring people, you're creating jobs and then hiring people to run it, preferably on the lowest salary that you can get away with, so that then you have some more capital to hire more people and just to keep building this machine running. Whereas a freelancer is more like you're trying to work with the best clients that you possibly can. And the business is something that you can't sell because it's more like your creative work. You know what I mean?
Yes, you're right. However, every business owner, I own a brick and mortar. I am a business owner, right? The responsibility is to build something that is sellable for your future. Now, one of the reasons I went to acupuncture school is because I know, like, I've seen Buddy. but he's 60 years old. He's old. He's fucked up. I got I got fucking psoriatic arthritis. I can't fucking grip a dumbbell with this hand. I fucking strap it in. You know, like it's fucking tough. And you can't coach forever. You'd like to, but you can't. But you know what I can do forever?
Yeah. Chuck a needle in.
I could stick a needle in forever. No problem. So that, to me, that's my retirement. Like, hey, I don't ever have to scale a business, or I never have to build a business, something to sell. Right? Like I don't need to worry about that. However, as a business owner with employees, like I have 4 or 5 guys that work here now. You do have a responsibility to create that type of stability. Right? Because let's say I don't want to do this anymore. Well, there needs to be a way for the show to keep going for the guys that want to keep going.
Right.
I can't just say, guys, I'm done. Well, now they're fucked.
Right.
And what do I do? Hey, guys, run it on your own. Well, I have no systems in place.
Right.
And it's the systems in place that create the value to make it sellable, but it also creates it creates sustainability. It creates flexibility for the guys to be able to take the step back and run the show. It might not be run as well because you're not a part of it and it's not, you created it, or maybe they can figure out a way to tweak things to run it better. So if you have employees, I think what Even Esh did is the responsible thing to do. And what I do is just a fucking terrible way, because my new coaches, I get them clients. We get emails, I get phone calls. I just funnel them right to my new coaches. Right. Well, what happens when I leave? Because they're contacting Mike Wodango through Freak Strength.
Right.
So I need to figure out a way to make this more systematic. And by doing that, that enables my company to grow and become easily evaluated, but it makes me be a manager, which is something that I don't want to that I never wanted to do, but I have a responsibility to do it if you're going to have people work there.
I mean, the first thing that comes to my head is that great podcast we did with Boyle, because not only is he a very successful coach and a legend in the field, he's also got an amazing business that runs and actually makes money. I mean, there's so many great coaches that have a shitty business, and there's many great gyms that have shitty coaches, but they seem to be doing something right. And I'm sure that Boyle faced that too, because I'm sure a lot of the people at the beginning were coming then just for him, but he managed to do it. So there's no reason why you can't. Yeah,
agreed. And realistically, so if I have 100 people that come in, hey, I was referred to, by so-and-so to go to Freak Strength to see Mike Wodango. And they say Freak Strength is the best place to go, blah, blah, blah. I say, hey, yeah, my rates are this, but I have coaches that I hired that are very, very qualified, and their rates are this. If you'd like, I can set you up with them. Yes, set me up with them. Right? So my name is getting them in the door, and then it's my stamp of approval that gets everything else going. So realistically, of the 100 people that come in, maybe 25 are sticklers for me. But then the other 70, maybe it's higher than that. Maybe it's 50%. But those are still workable metrics to help other people grow their clientele and have them have their own 50% sort of thing. But I need to be able to take that step back and manage and delegate those things so these guys can grow. And I do need to be able to force some of those, 25 of those 50 people onto other people so that business can grow and so they can flourish. That, again, as a business owner, as an employer, those are the responsibilities we have. And Zach had the foresight with that shit. I don't. It took me, I'm in my 7th year of business and I just started doing this. He started doing this 7 years ago.
Right. But both of Zach also mentioned it as a business partner.
And Boyle has a business partner.
And I think that, the entrepreneurial mindset should be then that you're trying to probably do just the 2% that you're good at, really, really good at. So whether that's like mitigating pain or whatever, and then you've got the other people set up to help you build it up. Because, you're the world's worst boss yourself. And you don't even know what you don't know, and how you're limiting the growth of the company, etc. So.
Yeah. I've been saying this for a couple of years now, that I need to find some kind of business partner if I want this to grow, so I don't have to worry about a fucking thing. But the problem with that is I didn't have the systems set in place to be able to grow. Now I do.
Right. Yeah, and it's doing well, huh? This year.
Yeah.
It's done very well considering the circumstances. So,
yep.
Yeah. So who was before?
So let's
the next one.
So we had episode 1 was our pilot where you and I, and people have said that we've progressively gotten better and better and better as we've gone on.
I don't think that was hard because we had no fucking idea what we were doing at the beginning.
Bro, I don't even know what. So we had the pilot episode 1. That was us saying like, let's see what we want to fucking do. And we actually recorded, what did we record? 4 or 5 episodes before we released a single one.
It's true.
And so we got a lot of recommendations early on, like, hey, you need a intro and you need this and you need that. And I had already uploaded everything and I was like, fuck this. I'm not redoing stuff. So I think we had to wait until, I don't know, like 6 or 10 episodes in before we had something that like kind of looked decent. But even now people are telling us, why don't you do a preface to introduce the guests, or like, hey guys, this episode's about this and this and this, and you should do this and have a clip about that. Like the Just Fly Performance podcast. He has clips of some of the best, some of the things that he thinks are the best sound bites, and he puts them in the beginning. What's it called? The Mind Muscle Project did that as well. Yeah, guys, I do this fucking editing myself. Fuck you. Like I don't want to do this shit.
Is it necessary? I mean,
Rogan is the best podcast out there. Right. The most listened to podcast out there. He don't do it. He just, hey, get right into it. But maybe because we are not them, we have a responsibility to make it a little easier to retrieve the information.
I mean, I've not heard people say that I won't listen to the podcast because you don't have it like this. So.
No, I haven't either, but people are like, oh, maybe it'll make it a little bit more enjoyable. I don't know. That just seems like a lot of extra work for nothing. One of the things my professors hated about me, by the way, I officially fucking graduated with my master's from acupuncture school. I have 9 more courses to take for my doctorate, but I'm going to take some time off. I have to pass my board exams and then practice acupuncture for X amount of months. And then I'll go back to my doctorate. But in the meantime, I'm taking weekends off for the first time in fucking years, and I'm enjoying my fucking self.
Yeah, man. Congratulations. Also got engaged.
Got engaged.
Big year.
But we talked about it on the last podcast. Man, that was amazing. That's the best video on the internet. Zach's the fucking best. But what I always told my professors, and they fucking hate, most of them hated this about me. I said, it's the 20-80 rule. I said, what do you mean 20-80 rule? 20% of the effort yields 80% of the results. Mm-hmm. I don't give a fuck about that extra 20% because that's going to be 80% worth of work to get that last 20% when I'm just trying to learn general knowledge about this. My one professor said, Mike, if you spend 2 hours writing this paper, you'll get an A. I said, well, what happens if I don't? I said, well, you get a B. I said, I'll take the fucking B. Yep. I said, what do you mean? You're not going to spend the 2 hours? I said, it's 10%. I don't give a shit. He said, well, you're not getting an A and you're an A student. I said, well, by definition, by not doing this, I'm not an A student. So I don't care. It's not worth my time. I don't have an ego about this. I think my cumulative GPA with 152 credits, I think it was, it's 1,700 hours worth of classwork and like 900 or 1,000 hours worth of hands-on like needling stuff with patients. 152 credits, maybe 170 credits. I forget. My cumulative GPA was a 3.43. So if I got an A in that class and spent the 2 hours instead of spending 2 hours working, sleeping, or worrying about myself, then I would have went to what, a 3.44. Like, man, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
I do not care that much. I could be a B student. I could be a C student. If I pass my boards and I'm still needling, it doesn't mean that I know less than anyone else because it's in one ear, out the other until you start applying the shit anyway. And then you got to relearn what you want to fucking know anyway. Like, this is part of my first career already. Like, this isn't my first career. This is part of my first career, which is a segue into possibly a second. So like, I know how this shit works already. I don't need to worry about this shit. 80-20. So I'll give 20% effort on editing this fucking podcast and and get 80% of the happiness that you guys want. As long as you get the fucking information that you want, who gives a shit?
Right. And I think if that's one thing that we've been pretty good at too, is not allowing all of our guests to come on and say the same shit that they say on every other podcast, especially if we know about it, right? Like we're pretty good at trying to move the conversation. I think we can definitely get better at it, but in general, I mean, we always get great feedback.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've not heard that about this guy before, or, you know, that was great knowledge in this section, or hearing someone talk about philosophy who's a strength coach, for example.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've managed to be good there.
Yeah, so, like with Buddy, and he got pissed. I was like, hey, yeah, you talk about the outside. Yeah, hey, motherfucker, shut up and let me finish. But guys that do tons of podcasts over and over again, it's like what we were talking about before.
Yeah.
Like they just say the same thing over and over and over again. And I said to Buddy, I said, bro, you say this shit all the time. Like, give me some. I know the things that you don't say that you're good at. Fucking say that. You know, like that's the benefit of having of knowing these guys. Like we can get that out of them.
It's hard because, you know, you got to be self-aware. It's just exactly what we just spoke about about me beforehand. Mm-hmm. You know, mm-hmm. There's nothing more boring to me than saying shit that I did back in the past.
Speaking of which, can you did you tell the story about the fucking ants in the podcast yet?
I don't know.
Tell that story. Can you tell that story? And be fucking enthusiastic about it, because this is fucking terrifying.
I was in some hot, sticky fucking place in Argentina, and just endless straight roads going through a lot of swamplands. So it was terrible mosquitoes. I remember the night before when I pitched up my tent in some local park, going out of the tent, and it was so hot, but I had on all of my layers. I had gloves on, woolly hat, because mosquitoes were just attacking me. I mean, it was so bad that as I opened up the zip where my head torch was coming out, they were flying up my nose. It was like as bad as in the jungle in Argentina, right?
Ugh.
That's the kind of environment it is, just sticky and sweaty and horrible, right? And then, so I'm driving down. I can't remember where I'm going. And then I stop to go for a piss. And that's right. So as I'm riding, because it's so hot and humid and there's no way to breathe, I had my T-shirt off. I had my own natural air conditioning system where I take my gloves off, open up the cuffs of my jacket, have no T-shirt on so that I could have air circulating through. And I thought that was the best fucking idea in the world until bees or wasps would get sucked in and start stinging my back. Right? So this happened a couple of times, but anyway, this time in Argentina, I get stung on just on the outside of my elbow, and I smash the bastard, right? But the sting is getting worse and worse and worse. And then at some point I think, like, I'm trying to rub it, you know? So it must have been like jelly, you know, this wasp that was in me, but the sting, it was just vibrating through my arm, right? So I thought I'll pull over here because there's no one around anyway. So I just pulled to the side of the road. And bearing in mind, it's like single lane, straight road for hours and hours and hours. I haven't seen anyone for so long. So I just pull over to the side onto the grass, jump off the motorbike, and it's really hurting now. So I'm like, I get my jacket off, throw it on the floor, look at my elbow, and I can just see the sting and all its guts hanging out. So I pull that out. And then I'm thinking, oh, good, you know, now it already feels better. As soon as it was out, it felt good. And then I just was looking around at the trees, and then all of a sudden I felt something weren't right. And as I looked down, it was like my trousers were moving. Like there was just this wave. And I was like, what the fuck? And then it clicked that I'd been like, wherever I'd stopped, it was right in an ant's nest, and it was fucking massive. It was massive. And before I know it, I'm jumping up and down, screaming like a little girl, right? Kicking my legs, running around. And exactly where I threw my jacket, that was in, like, I'd kicked it all up because as I'd like jumped off the bike and put the kickstand down to the bike, I've already fucked up this ant's nest. They ain't happy, you know? So they're all over the motorbike. They're all over my jacket. They're all on my legs. I mean, they're going inside my trousers now. I mean, luckily they weren't biting. Yeah, but it's just fucking horrible, man. I was finding
you could have died.
2 days. 2 days. Yeah, I could have. If they were poisonous ants, for sure. But bro, that's one of many, many times I could have died. Just been lucky. I've been so lucky. I mean, you know it too, right? I mean, I'm just lucky. Let's hope it keeps going. But yeah, man, I was finding ants for 2 days. I remember at one point later on in that day, as I'm riding a bike, I'm still seeing ants crossing the handlebars.
Really?
Yeah, bro, they were there for days. I was still finding ants in my shoes. You know, oh, dude, it was horrible, man.
Any in your nostrils and shit?
Nah, they wouldn't go close to my face. I hadn't washed for a while, and I had that beard. I had that fucking thick, dusty beard that nothing could get through. So my face was fine. So
the mind, you know what? You're telling another fucking story right now. The Mind Muscle Project guys, they asked a question. I forget what are the questions. I forget what it was, but it made me think of the story of you being trapped in the desert. The one where you drove out for like 2 days and like ran out of gas or some shit like that?
There was two. One was when yeah. One was in Bolivia, in the high plains there where all the volcanoes were, and I thought I could drive a 300 plus kilo motorbike on sand and then going downhill, and I was like chucking my leg out to catch myself, even though I knew that was really stupid thing to do because that's but it's the instinct, right? If the arse moves out the way to the side, your instinct instantly is to put your foot out to catch yourself, right? So on that time, I've chucked my left foot out and the bike span, and then my leg ended up basically behind the bike with the panniers and all that. I mean, it was a 180 kilo bike, and I had a lot of equipment, man. I had all my camping stuff, surfboard, wetsuit, climbing gear. I had like over 80 kilos worth of gear, then fuel and all that. And anyway, the bike landed on its side in deep sand with my leg trapped behind it. And I mean, my ankle and knee popped, and I was like face down, in the sand with no one around, and I've never been so aggressive in my entire life because I couldn't get out. I could not get out, bro. I remember, do you remember the old animal posters that you remember them? Like, fuck you, you fucking pussy. But, I mean, it was the language that was coming out of my mouth to motivate myself to get out from under the bike. Bro, the bike was so heavy. And I'm screaming, effing and blinding like nothing, And anyway, I managed to wiggle my way out. But I don't think that weren't really the time that I got really lost, though. It was the time in Peru when, man, I forget. Like, I don't even know how I ended up getting into this place. It was like the road must have been diverted hours beforehand, and then there'd been like floods or the earth had moved or something. And anyway, I ended up in a valley that there was no way to get out of. And where I'm not sure what it was, if it was floodings or whatever, but there were these cracks in the earth with no road whatsoever, and with this heavy bike. So I was going down into these sort of ditches and then trying to get back up and out. And anyway, at one point I tried to go through something. I remember actually I stopped the bike beforehand, and I thought I was clever by putting a bunch of rocks to go down into it, and then some on the other side to get out of it, like as a ramp to go in and out. But it was really deep. And I remember even taking pictures and video of it beforehand. And then that moment there ended up being one of the stupidest things I've ever done. As soon as I put the nose down, all of the weight went forward and the forks hit. And then, of course, so I try and go then hard on the accelerator. As I bump out, I'm losing balance, and then the bike just falls, like I just fall back, and the bike ends up in this hole, upside down, all the equipment still on it, fuel's leaking out, and then it was, I don't even know how many days, mate, to be completely honest, but it was a good few days of waiting there to see if someone's going to come and help me. Oh, and in the process of doing it too, the clutch handle snapped, and I had a spare cable, but I didn't have a spare handle. I'd already used it as a brake handle on the other side. So I couldn't even, I could get the bike going, but also the bike was too heavy upside down. I took all the panniers off and all the equipment, but I still couldn't manage to flip it upside down. So I was also worried that I had no fuel left, because as soon as the bike tipped, it would leak fuel out of the gas tank. And, oh, bro, I remember, man, I spent like fucking the first 2 days being like, oh, I'll be all right. Someone will come and help me. I've always been helped and saved. I just believed it was going to be fine. I didn't really have any food. There was a stream, and I had a great bottle, a Grail, where I could filter any water. And I'd already tested that on muddy water and shit, and it was good. So there was some water that would go through, because every now and then there'd be a bunch of alpaca. So that would also mean that there's someone looking after the alpaca, right? There'd be a farmer or a shepherd or whatever the fuck they're called, the ones that herd up alpaca, right? You know what alpaca are like? They look like llama.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, anyway, I didn't know. So I'm still thinking for 2 days, someone's going to come here and save my ass, as I've been lucky enough my whole life beforehand. And help weren't coming, and then food ran out. And my phone ran out. I had no map, no compass, and I knew the direction that I wanted to go, because I'd had my phone and I had like this offline map, and I'd gone out for a couple walks. Like I walked up to the top of one of the volcanoes close to where I was, to get like a perspective, but I couldn't see fuck all, man. It was like, as far as you can see, you're in complete barren wasteland. There is no way someone's coming through here, And then after 2 days, 2 or 3 days, I just decided, right, next morning I'm going to wake up and I'm just going to hike out. No one's coming to save my ass, and I'm going to get myself out of it. I'm just going to keep walking. I'll remember roughly where the bike is, but at this point, I don't even give a fuck if I leave the bike here. I just want to find someone, right? And I started walking that crack of dawn. The first day, I packed everything up and chucked all my bits inside this crack in the earth where the bike was. So as soon as I'd walked 10, 15 minutes along, you look back, you got no idea where your stuff even was, So for me to even remember where that was something else too. As I'm going in the direction where there'd been like these, like it looked like a little town, or there should be a little town there or something on the map, right? There was a name of a place and a point. So you'd think that there would be something there. You didn't even have to get close before you realized that maybe that was a village back 500 years ago or something, because there's definitely nothing going on now. And that village might be 1 or 2, mud houses with some straw on the top, And yeah, mate. So I went to the first place, and I had to already cross a mountain pass to even get to where I was going, right? So that already took a long time to get over there. And I remember the first place, I was so optimistic. I was like, oh, this is going to be the first place I go. I'm going to be good. I just needed to get walking, get there. No one's there. No one's there. The houses are kind of like boarded up, and it's just, there's nothing around, and no people, no animals. There was this stream that was going straight down the middle of the valley. So I had water. And then I thought, okay, well, I'll just keep walking. So, and I knew the direction that I needed to go in, so, and there wasn't really any paths because it's just in the high plains. So you kind of go where there used to be a road, or where there's been horses walked or some shit. I don't know, right? Get to the next place. Nothing there.
How long?
Nothing there.
How long has this taken you?
This is the whole day. So this is now, I'd left at 5 o'clock in the morning with first light. This is now 3, 4 p.m. and like constant going, And it's getting to the point where I noticed the temperature's going down and I got an important decision to make. Do I break into one of these places and sleep there? Hopefully there's some food, maybe some whatever, newspaper or wood, or I don't know, like something to burn to keep warm. But at least I've got shelter, because there's no way I'm gonna, this is so high up that overnight there would be frost on the tent in the morning. So like there's no way I'm gonna get any decent sleep by just being in my clothes overnight. And also what I gotta say is too, is because of the altitude, the sun was so strong. So I was hiking in shorts and a t-shirt. I had my layers, so I was all right, but little things like I had no sun cream, right? And I've been under this sun for days, so I just had to be putting the dust and sand all over me to protect me. So I literally looked like the wildest man at this point, you know. Like, even if I found someone, I would be lucky if they would talk to me and not scream and run in the other direction. You know what I mean? Especially because if I saw someone, I'd run over and just grab them and just be so happy to see it, you know? And also in Peru, you know, I'm not that big of a guy, but over there I'm big compared to, you know, sort of some of the local people. So it'd been even more intimidating. But anyway, when I'm sitting, I sit against like this kind of, it was like a tree trunk thing. And I remember for the first time I started to really like, I need to make a decision here. This is getting fucking hairy. And what am I going to do? What's the smartest thing to do? Because I'm scared now. Now I'm like, do I go back in the dark, hopefully find my gear, but I'm with my bike and with my gear. Maybe someone's going to come, but I got somewhere to stay, but it's getting dark and I don't know how long it's going to take me to get back there exactly, but it's going to be dark. And for me to find that stuff is going to be really, really hard. Or do I break in, stay here and then make the next leg afterwards, the next day? And then as I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, I just remembered that as I was peeking through the windows of the old village, I saw a bicycle there that I didn't remember when I was there. I saw it, but it didn't click. So I thought, maybe the best thing for me to do is go back to the first village, which is not so far away, because then I can break in somewhere there too. Break the fucking door down, try to find any food if I can. But maybe the bicycle there, I don't know if the bicycle has tires on it, which would have been lucky already. If it had a chain on it, which would have been double lucky or not. But I thought that's where my instinct is going towards. Well, it would just so happen to be the best thing that I could have ever done, because as soon as I started walking back in that direction, there was this fucking little tiny Aboriginal lady come in the middle of nowhere, bro, with her hands behind her back, walking like duck stance, you know, like super tiny old woman in her indigenous clothes, sorry. Like all colorful, beautiful Peruvian patterns and stuff like that, and really long braided hair. She had this little, it looked like kind of like a Jack Russell mongrel type of dog next to her. And she's just crouched over, like bent forward all the way with her hands behind her back, trotting along. And I mean, bro, I could have screamed. I mean, I ran and was like, oh my God, you know, faint, you know. Dude, I had tears in my eyes. Like, you know, I wanted to hug her. And then as I ran, she took my hands and she said, I've been following you for so long. She said, what's wrong? I can tell that something's wrong. And I said, what do you mean? She said, in your footprints, you're panicking. So that you'd think also then that might be it at the end of the story, but then it got even more crazy. So as she found me, I felt instantly like, okay, I'm going to be good now, because no matter what, I ain't leaving this woman. You know?
she's old, she's alive, I'll stay alive.
Right. And she, you know, everything seemed better then, right? And I also knew I'm going to get out again, because as from the very first day, I just made so many silly mistakes, either through ignorance, through thinking, oh, it will be all right, I'll get through it, or just blindly, just, you know, no idea, right? But with time, things got gradually bigger consequences, but I managed to get over it. So I just had this kind of sense that no matter what, I'll be all right. This woman's there, I'm thinking I'm fucking saved. she's like, I said, listen, I've had a bad motorbike crash. My bike is broken. I need some help. And bearing in mind, she's like an indigenous Peruvian woman. I'm talking Spanish. I was pretty good at Spanish by this point, but
it's a different dialect.
It's different dialect. She's speaking like Quechuan or something. That's her mother tongue. And then, so it's hard, you know? Then she's like, there's someone here with a motorbike. And I said, what do you mean? How the hell? And she said, there's someone here that can help you. I'll take you. So then we start walking together. We go off the paths, and then we're starting scrambling up the sides of these mountains, volcanoes. I'm not quite sure what they were. As we go through, we're walking about half hour or something, and there's this cave, a hole in the side of the mountain, bro, with this little dude squatted down. He had this big saucepan that was boiling water with some twigs in it, like for different herbs. He had one stick that was like it looked like a fern, like a pine tree branch with some leaves on it. It was the one that's growing everywhere there. He had one of them, and it was giving off enough flame, right, to be boiling this water. So that was already fucking fascinating. Like, this is a guy that knows how to survive, right? And when I'm in cave, bro, I mean literally just a dig out of the side of this mountain. And then the only other thing he had on the wall, which was the weirdest and most hilarious thing, he had a calendar of alpaca dressed up. It looked like, bro, he had these alpaca dressed up like as if they're, you know, swimsuit models, you know. Bro, wearing crowns, all dressed up, funny, you know, in different colors. And, you know.
Did you laugh, or were you afraid to laugh?
Bro, I remember, I don't remember. I just remember seeing it being like, what the fuck? That's so weird, you know. But then very quickly being on at him like, hey, listen, do you have a motorbike? Because I've had a crash and I need a mechanic or someone that can give me the parts and help me fix the bike and different stuff like this, right? And then he, fuck, this is a long old story, huh? You tell me if you...
Bro, no, you keep going. This is fucking awesome. So I've heard this story, but I haven't heard all these details.
Yeah. Well, this is like what we was talking about before. I get bored saying, I feel like, you know what I mean? It's just weird. And then anyway, he's like, yeah, I got a motorbike, but it's getting late and, you know, we don't want to ride and get stuck in the dark. And I was saying to him, no, I was like really persistent. No. We need to get out of this place. Take me out. I'll pay you whatever money you want. Like, I had maybe $400 to $600 cash on me, plus some other different currencies. So I didn't care, bro. I would have given him all my fucking money just to get out of this place now, because just with the torment. I mean, I've got certain pictures, and I'll post them at some point. I've got one of like the sunrise and the sunset in this place, and it was spectacular. It was as if you're the last person on earth and beautiful, but at the same time, I knew that I cannot survive there for much longer, and things are going to get really, really iffy. Like one wrong decision, getting delirious because of lack of food or water, being exhausted from the sun, one angle off, and I'm not going to get found or something like that, or I'm not going to find anyone, right? So I'm just persistent on him to get him out. Anyway, he's like, okay, I'll take you. This is going to cost this. I can't remember how much it was, but it was far too much for what he was going to do, but I didn't care. I did not care at all. I was happy to give it to him, right? We go back down then into that first village, and there was a place there that had been boarded up. And anyway, he had a key for it. So it turned out the whole time that there were people where I was, but they didn't want to be seen. So I could never see them. That's also why there were these alpaca out, right? Because someone has to be looking after them. They can't just be out wild, you know? So I'm learning all this. I'm like, how the hell do you live here? I've been here for days looking for people shouting at the top of mountains, help, right? Can you imagine? You know, I'm trying everything, bro. Screaming help in different locations, trying to bellow the sound out, you know? And anyway, he's got this motorbike, bro, and it looked like a spaghetti, bro. It had wires everywhere. Yeah, it was the oldest, shittiest motorbike that I've ever seen in my entire life. And I laughed at it. It had the front light, bro, was hanging out of the actual system on the front, you know? It looked like it just rejected the fucking headlight, just hanging by wires, you know? And the first thing I'm thinking about is, first of all, if that starts, I'm going to be lucky. Second of all, that can't have much fuel to get as far at all. And the third thing is how the hell am I going to fit on the back of that? And that's going to move with the two of us in the desert, in the sand. So anyway, he's like, oh no, it will work. And I know a mechanic. It's about, I think he said, it was about 2 hours away. Right. And it's dark and late. So we get on the back of this thing. And I mean, bro, we fall off it 4, 5, 6 times. And because as we're driving out for this it's called like the altiplan, or like the high plains, right? As we're driving out through there, then you've got these odd streams that are coming out, and you're not driving on roads, you're driving on like just some sort of like compact sand, or you're driving on just a bit of rock, you know, that has the pebbles kind of moved because people have traveled through there, you know. But as you hit some of that stuff that's wet, you slip and slide straight away. So, I mean, there were times where we were driving and I'm falling asleep because it's dark and cold, and I'm like huddled behind this guy. You know, I'm engulfing this guy in front of me, and the bike would just spin out and we'd tumble, both of us, and that. Anyway, we start driving. Bro, at one point, man, and this is crazy, at one point we come across, and this is in Peru, but Peru and Chile are close to each other, right? At one point, we come across this military base in the middle of nowhere, and it looks like something out of like what you would find in the US, not in South America, like huge towers surrounded by sort of, you know, barbed wire fences and huge facilities and crazy cars, and, you know, like it looked like special forces base or something like that. And it had a lot of the Chilean flag and the Chilean colors all around. And I thought that was already pretty strange. And I thought he was taking me there because, of course, they're going to have a mechanic or something like that can help with vehicles because they're based in the middle of nowhere. As we start getting even close, there's a spotlight that's sending a light onto us. And, you know, you can barely see with this, right? But then I start realizing, okay, we ain't going there because we're not getting closer towards them. We're passing on. We go for a little bit longer, and then before you know it, you find one of these little settlements again where I'm sure the people have been living like this for, you know, hundreds and hundreds of years. Mud huts, tiny, really low down ceilings. It looks like you could set a bomb off on this thing and it wouldn't blow up, you know, like just been hardened by the earth, you know, with straw tops. And we get in there, and the guy comes walking out straight away, and he's a big dude compared to the other guys there. And they're talking again Quechuan or another indigenous language. And I'm cold. I'm now like feeling better because I know I'm not going to die, but I'm also really concerned with where the fuck is my motorbike? Because can I remember how to get there? Can this guy help me or not? Are they going to try to fuck me over somehow here a bit, you know, because there's a lot of language going on, and, you know, and you got to always be careful because people are going to take advantage, especially when you're scared or nervous, right? And you're in this sort of situation. They had me by the bollocks, man.
Yeah.
Put it that way, right? We start talking, and then the guy has 2 sons, and he has some daughters too, and chickens, and it's like, you know, there's children's toys like they look, I don't know, I would have no idea how they even got them there, but they're like 50-year-old plastic tricycles, you know, for kids that are like got chunks missing out of it, and then, you know, roosters walking around, and, you know, it's just like complete chaos. So the guy says to me, where, I asked him as well, are you a mechanic? He said, yeah, I'm a mechanic. I said, okay, I've had a motorbike crash. And he was like, okay, where? And then we start drawing on the sand, like where we've come from and the guy and all that. And then I say where the bike is, and he says, no, he's like, that's not where the bike is because there's no roads, like you can't get there. And I'm like, no, bro, I'm there. The bike is there for sure. And I mean, bearing in mind, as I got into this valley, bro, I remember I was on like a decent road, and then all of a sudden it was like I went over a ridge line. And then from that moment on, I was in Narnia. Like there were, even if I wanted to, the sand was so thick, you know, as soon as I've gone on it and I'm going down, and I'm trying not to use the brakes, because on a heavy bike on sand, you don't really want to use the brakes much because you're going to spin out. And if the bike falls, as it did for thousands of times, I fell off the bike or the bike just lost balance. To pick that fucker up in sand is really hard because it starts skidding out, right? And then you got to get going. And because your ass is heavy, you can end up in a ditch. So you just don't want to stop the bike and you don't want to fall, and you just want to kind of go with it, flow with it, right? But I mean, I remember like, there's no way you should be getting this. Any normal person, if they weren't just like, oh, it will be fine, they would have stopped already and tried to somehow get back to where they was, you know? But again, ignorance, just thought it would be fine. So then the guy says, look, it's really late. You will go tomorrow. And I don't know why, but I was really like, no, like I want to go now. I want to get the bike. And I can't remember exactly why I was like that, but I was really adamant on, we need to go right now and get this sorted. By this time, it's dark. It's cold, very windy, and pitch black. So were you doing everything underneath the light, right? He had this old truck. He agrees anyway to go for a lot of money. I think he wanted like $500 to go and to go there and to sort the bike out. And I remember by this point, I didn't even have that much. And I said, I can't. He said, okay, I'm not going to help you straight away. Because he didn't believe where I was, first of all. He wasn't very hospitable. Like he was like, who the fuck is this guy who's disturbed me late at night saying that he's this place? You know, there's no way. And the little guy who was with me, he was almost trying to help me out a little bit, but he was also acting shady. Like he kept like going around to the side of me, and, you know, I had to put some money down for the fuel and stuff. And then I saw he suddenly had like more fuel, and there was like a couple weird bits going on. So I'm like, I'm not trusting these guys completely, but I know that they can help me out. So anyway, the guy says, I can't help you. We'll talk tomorrow. And I remember went in my pockets. I pulled all my money out. I put it out there. I said, please, this is all I've got. Please help me. I'm not crazy. This is where my bike is. It's broken. I'm going to need some fuel because the fuel's out. I need a new clutch handle. I need another cable too, maybe, et cetera, et cetera. He says, okay, I'll help you. So we get in his old van. It's like a flatbed truck, but old as shit, like really fucking old, with his two boys. As we start driving there, it takes us a while to get there.
In the middle of the night?
You're in the middle of the night. In the middle of the night.
2 hours away.
Yeah, in the middle of the night, right? And you can't see anything apart from the fog beams, but the guy's a local, so he knows roughly where this other guy lived. So I didn't need to give like pinpoint instructions, although it wasn't that hard, even though it was so wild, because there's not many roads and there's not many landmarks. I knew I was like two mountain passes over, and there was like this one massive volcano. So I knew more or less there were like these kind of landmarks, right? We start driving it, and as we're going up the first pass, the car already breaks down because it overheats, right? So anyway, I've got a great picture of the boys and him as well in this vehicle, right? As we get closer and closer, the guy's like, there's no way your bike's here. You couldn't get here. I kept saying, it is. When we finally get there, I'd fallen asleep just before we arrive to where this other guy had lived, and from there I knew exactly where we was. He woke me up. He said, where's the bike? The bike's not here. I said, come with me. And we start going off of the road then, and then we're crossing over these cracks in the earth and stuff like that. We get the bike. The boys are with me ahead because the old man's like not believing me and sort of walking slowly behind, right? The boys are like chirping, oh shit, you know, like whatever, getting excited. He was telling the truth. His bike's here. So then the dad comes pretty quick. And then this is so late at night now. and everyone knows that it's cold. And I mean, dude, it's so cold that your hands being out, they're like, you know, you looking like T-Rex, you know, that your hands are crippling in and it's just bitter cold, even just the bits on your face that are open. And then they managed to literally be the fastest, most efficient workers I've ever seen in my entire life. I had to stay out of the way because I was just going to slow them down. They ran back to the car. They got this one long board that they used to go across the cracks in the earth to get the bike over and through. They managed to get the bike back up in the right position very quickly. They fixed the bike super quick. I was lugging my bags back and forward into the back of the truck. They bring the bike across behind the vehicle. Now it's very late, very dark, but I feel immediately so much better because I've been saved, you know, it's wonderful. So then they say, okay, follow us back and you can stay with us for the night. And I said, okay, that's super nice. So I'm definitely going to do that because I'm so appreciative of them, especially the way that they worked. When they realized I weren't lying and the way they worked, I was like, I really respect these guys, especially the two young boys. They must have been 13, 14, 15, something like that. And they were fucking serious, you know?
How bad did you smell?
I'm not caring about that at this point. Probably pretty damn bad though.
There's no, where did you shit and wipe your ass?
Yeah, but you've got, see, listen, you've got a problem with shitting outside. I mean, I was actually, you know, I remember you taking your first dump in the woods and you're like, well, how do I do it? And I'm like, well, you fucking drop your kicks, sit back. And then I was like, just make sure that you don't shit uphill because it might end up going on your shoes.
What I'm telling you is I had leaves to wipe with. You had sand?
Right. Yeah, sand, but I was carrying baby wipes. I always had baby wipes.
That's really funny.
I had baby because they're the best because they flat pack too, right? So I'm sure I was using baby. I can't remember exactly when, but bro, I wouldn't have cared. I would have been rubbing my ass dry with fucking sand at this point. I did not care. I was in primitive mode. I need to get out of this place because no one knows where I am. I got no signal. I got nothing. I need to get out. And this was a massive changing point also with my with my life. I'm sure.
You still haven't eaten 3 days later, and you've probably how far did
I'd been eating a little bit. I didn't have much food, but I'd been like 2 days now without food. And what I was eating before was cans of because this is also where I was trying to be vegan for a while, which was a stupid fucking idea. Lost so much weight, and I was eating so much crappy food. You know, I was eating these tortillas with a cardboard box of black beans, and I was putting that in hot sauce, and that's what I was eating. I remember before I'd ran out of food, but I didn't prepare to get a lot of food because I wasn't meant to be stuck. I was meant to just be passing through, right? So I'm behind the main vehicle now on the bike. I'll get my jacket on. I'm just ready to get back. I'm super pumped. I'm like full energy, maximum, fully alive again, right? Buzzing off my tits, all for about 15 seconds because as soon as their car left and I started driving, I remembered I don't have my helmet on, which is silly, and it's cold, but even worse, I didn't have my fucking gloves. My gloves were in my bag that was in the car in front. Now, as we're driving out, they're driving super fast. And I mean, probably not that quick in terms of the speed, but because of the desert and there's bushes in different places. So you just, you know, I couldn't go slow because I was worried about losing them, but I couldn't go fast because as I'm going quicker, my hands are getting frozen so much I can't even grab the brakes anymore, you know?
Just beep at them. Beep, beep.
Bro, I was beeping, but with the wind and the noise of the car, they couldn't hear nothing. I was trying to beep. I was getting close to them, trying to flash my lights, but nothing's working. They're not looking or nothing, right? At some point, the only thing that I could do was just ride the bike into the back of the truck, right? But I'm also scared because I don't want them to hit the brakes and then I end up underneath the vehicle. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I couldn't go to the sides because then I'm going off of the tracks into deep sand and then I'm going to crash and hurt my. So I literally, and I mean, bro, I'm beeping, I'm shouting, I'm screaming, nothing's working. You know, so I've gone from being again high as anything to fucking hell, you know, what have I done now? You know, never forget your gloves ever, 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 you know? Anyway, we start to slow.
2 hours.
No, not even 5 minutes. Because as soon as we started to climb to go up the pass again, where the vehicle was slower, I went straight into the back of him, not at a fast speed, really not. So not to sound extreme, it wasn't fast, but it was enough that they felt it. And the boys come out the car, and I said to them, and I knew that they loved the bike because they hadn't seen a bike this powerful, and you couldn't buy that bike in every country in South America. So when they saw the bike, they're like, "Oh my God, that's a 650, blah, blah," you know. And I said, "I need one of you to drive the bike. I can't drive the bike." And then they were like fighting, like, gimme, gimme, gimme. They jumped on it, bro. And I mean, they got this thing going, and they were driving so fast with the other guy on the back. And they must have been switching. They drove so quick. I didn't see them after 20 seconds. They just disappeared into the darkness. And the guy was in the car, got in, and the heaters were on, sat back in the chair. And literally, it was like countdown, 10, 9. And I just knocked out, woke up back at the guy's property. He was shaking my leg to wake me up. I got out. The mum greeted me, or the daughter, I didn't know. It's hard to tell, you know. One of the women in these little tribe come and took me. They put me into a little house, into a nice bed. And they brought me 3 dishes of some type of soup with some pasta in it. Ate that, knocked out, woke up with the light, got out, and I was so happy. And then, yeah, mate, that was about it. That was that story. And I remember driving off, and literally, I don't know, in less than half an hour from leaving his little compound, I was back on brand fucking new tarmac in the mountains, and literally having the time of my life. So, world's longest story, that one. Fucking hell,
Bro, that was a half-hour story.
I'm turning in. I'm getting like Rolf here, man.
Well, you got to go to work now, right?
Yes, sir, I do. Let me just text them and say 5 minutes, and then wrap it up with you.
All right. Hey, we'll fucking end it on that. So much for our recap. We got through. We
Oh, well, that's the way we do it, bro, right?
Yeah. Well,
So
we'll catch you guys next time.
To be continued. Cool.